What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to an all-new episode of TAETRO Talks. Thank you so much for being here today. If you don't know, we are live every single Tuesday here on TAETRO Talks, either doing a show where we interview people in the music industry. Like next week, we have a really cool guest I will tell you about in a few. We've had other content creators on, like Sanjay C, Rachel K. Collier. We've had the folks at Sensel. We've had the folks from Artifon, people who make really cool MIDI controllers or software. And sometimes, like today's show, you get to be the guest. You out there, anybody watching the show, you can literally be a guest on today's show by calling in live. We take this opportunity to talk about some of the creative, philosophical side of being a home studio music producer or an artist, the less technical stuff. Save that for your forum post. But today, if you want to call in, I just posted a link in the chat. You can jump in on Zoom, and don't worry, when you click that link, you're not immediately on stream. You're put into a waiting room. Also, if you're a little bit shy, you don't have to worry because you're not on video. You're just on audio. People will just hear your voice. Do not be shy. I would love to hear some new callers today. I think a couple weeks ago when we did the call-in show, we had lots of new callers, so that was really cool. So thank you all for being here today. I see a bunch of you in the chat already. We are brought to you by, of course, 343 Labs, which is an electronic music school based in Berlin, New York, and online. And we have really cool stuff planned for you with 343 Labs and 343 TV, which is daily live streaming pretty much on the YouTube channel, 343 Labs YouTube channel, I should say. youtube.com/343labs, which we just surpassed 15K subscribers over there, which is really awesome. But the new season of 343 TV is gonna be super dope. It starts in a month. It starts next month, I should say, second week of September. So be on the lookout for that. Some new shows and some amazing presenters coming on there. I should say hello to some of my friends in chat. What is good? Special shout out to all the members. First of all, Silva Orangutan, bringing the good vibes, saying achieving greatness every day here. Exactly. That is what we do here. White Whisker Musica as well. What is going on? Beta X, Parsa. My mom and dad are in the chat. Ray Calvin. Parishitpuri. Hello. Thank you for being here. David Toomey. What's good? David Toomey says, finally caught you live. Hi, you guys. What's up? I'm glad you could make it to a live show. Falguna. What's good? It has been so long. Welcome. Welcome back. Those Obvious Talks says, yo, I made it to a TAETRO live finally. Yes, I'm glad some of you are able to catch the live streams. Dean Savage, what's good? Aika with that awesome membership badge. Love that. Kamikaze Shots, Yard Boom. Yard Boom says, good evening from Tanzania. Holy smokes, we are worldwide, my friends, which is why this show is extra special, because we got music producers calling in from all around the world. The GRO says, what's up? What is up? Indigo Raccoon, hello. Music producer Ghost is here. Amazing. Love to see it. And hello to all my friends over on the 343 chat. Dane, Mystic Moth, and Bug Tank. Thank you for being here. Music producer Ghost, it has been a long time. I'm glad you could make it. If you haven't yet, I just put the Zoom link in the chat. Get in the waiting room because sometimes this show goes long. And today, I'm not trying to do a super long show. I'm trying to just take some really amazing calls, answer them, turn my AC off while I'm here, and it'll be a good time. Come chat with me. Don't be scared. R2 from Belgium. What is good? Rashane is here. Another member with those amazing emotes. We love to see it. Thank you all. So as you can tell by the title, today's a little bit of a rant. Pause the background music. Today is a little bit of a rant. The title of the stream, of course, being Beginner Producers. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. This keeps coming up. I cannot stress this enough. And I keep coming up with this analogy, and it's like a sports analogy, I guess. And maybe some of you have heard me say this before, but let's say, with music, right? We make the decision. We say, okay, I want to learn music. All right, let's pretend this is sports now. Okay, I want to learn to play volleyball. What a lot of people do is they don't go take volleyball lessons, or they don't go to a volleyball court and watch what the other volleyball players do. They go, I'm just going to do my own thing, and I'm going to bring a ping pong paddle, and I'm going to bring a football to the volleyball court. And you know what happens? Nobody wants to play with you because that's not how you play volleyball. And you didn't even take the time to learn the rules of volleyball or how to even play it. So A lot of people do that with music. It's like you show up, you say, I'm going to learn music. And then you start doing some crazy, crazy stuff. For what? You don't learn the basics. You don't learn the foundations. And then you look back and you wonder, why does it sound so bad? Why does nobody want to listen to my music? And I had a really amazing comment that I'm going to try to pull up that perfectly encapsulates this like urge to make things more complicated than they are, this urge to think that you just starting out know more than the years and decades and centuries of people that have already been, making music. So I want to go ahead and read this comment to you, but I want to not show the person's name because I don't want to bring them any kind of hate or anything. So let me just screenshot that and exit that and make this bigger. This comment is on one of my music theory videos. I'll bring it up right now. I can do that safely. Yes. So this is on my music theory video where I literally teach the basic formula on how to make a scale, like the 7 notes of a major scale. So this person goes, so already thinking ahead, can you combine 3 major scales notes into a triple chord, or would that be overkill? Or if you want to change major scale, like after 10 notes in the song, etc. I mean, anything is possible in music, right? Would that sound weird or just fun? Since I don't want to limit myself to just 7 notes. This is an issue. You don't even understand music theory. You don't even understand music, basic major scale. And this is the biggest problem. So thinking ahead. Can I draw on this? Oh, yeah. So already thinking ahead. No, this is not what you want to do. You do not want to do this when you are just learning. You can be curious. You can be driven to want to understand more advanced topics. But this is not thinking ahead. This is like, let me just try a bunch of random stuff because I don't feel like putting the time in to actually learn the basics. You're not thinking ahead. You're not being innovative. You're literally just making things more complicated for yourself and delaying your process of actually learning. So, are there ways to change major scales? Do key changes? Yes, of course there are. This whole thing right here is another big problem too. How do I get back that draw tool? That was fun. I don't want to limit myself to just 7 notes. What do you think that after years and centuries and decades of people making music, that you are going to walk along and say, you know what, 7-note major scale, just not good enough for me. I'm going to come up with something different. No. This is just like this weird ego thing at play. And I'm not calling out this person specifically. I'm just using their comment as an example because this is super, super common and it's super, super frustrating. You are a beginner. If you are a beginner in literally anything, your job is to sit there and absorb and learn. And I even say sometimes, unless you are asking a question that directly relates to the thing you're learning, you're right. So if I'm teaching about major scales, you might raise your hand and say, why are those the 7 notes? And I could explain to you the whole step and half step formula. But what a lot of people do is they already have a question in their head before they start a lesson or before they start watching the tutorial or before they start learning the subject that they're actually trying to learn. And the only thing they're thinking about is that question, which could be 10 steps ahead of where they actually are. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice by already having a question in your head when you go into the lesson. You need to just think, absorb, follow along, ask questions based on the lesson. Not based on the question that you already have in your head that you're going to get to eventually. You're learning music production, you're learning music, you're learning whatever it is, not even just music, any type of art, any type of sport, whatever. Your question will get answered. But you have to trust that the people teaching are going to give it to you in an order and in a sequence that is going to help you understand it. It's this combination of wanting to skip steps and also trying to think you're going to reinvent the wheel. That's the whole title of the video, right? The wheel works. We had wheels on horse and buggies. We had wheels in the Stone Age. We have wheels on our cars in the 21st century. We don't need to reinvent that. This is the same thing with music. Can you innovate? Can you combine styles? Can you come up with new styles? Can you break the rules? Absolutely. When you break the rules before you even know what the rules are, you break so many of them that your music sounds like garbage. Or even worse, you make something that sounds great, breaking a bunch of rules that you didn't know existed, and you have no idea how you made it. And not to say that you have to know how you made it, but what happens when you want to replicate that? What happens when you want that to be your style? What happens when people ask you if you can do it again and you can't because you don't even understand what you did? This is the issue. That is the difference between like an amateur and an artist. You got to learn the foundation before you start. That is the biggest issue. Since I don't want to limit myself to just 7 notes like that, you guys want to know what triggers me online? It's that. People thinking that they are literally about to reinvent music after centuries of people making music. You're not going to do it, my friend. Just think of all the musicians. All you have to do out there, and this is not a put down because I think in this mindset as well. If I just had an idea, it is likely that somebody else has had this idea. I am not the only person in the world to have had this idea. There's other people, other like-minded people out there that are having the same ideas. We can never assume that we're the first to come up with an idea. Call-in link is in the chat. I see a lot of you with adding a lot to the conversation. I would love to get on Zoom and you can share your perspective on this topic. Go ahead and click that link. If you just joined, don't worry. You click the link, you join the waiting room. Your face is not on air. It's just audio. So I would love it if you would click that Zoom link in chat, come add to the conversation or bring up a related question or a related topic or even something unrelated. Just don't ask me how to plug in a MIDI keyboard or something. Let's see what some of you all think about this in chat. TAETRO, this is funny, but every time I see your stream, my dog comes next to me and sits. We like that. Good dog. Thank you. Lots of good compliments. Nascent from Western Hills. What's good? Thank you for being here. Nascent with that fire Mars membership badge. Bo Tyler makes music says big facts. You can't break the rules properly until you learn the proper rules. I agree. And this is not to be like gatekeeping because you can learn the rules informally without learning them like in a formal traditional way. You can learn what a triad is. You can learn to play triads on a keyboard having no musical training at all and just understand that this is where you put your fingers or these are the chord shapes. I'm not saying you have to go to an institution to learn that it's root 3-5 or whatever. But at least you understand those rules, even if you don't understand, like the vocabulary. I don't think that's necessarily super important. Yurik says, fact, the basic rules of any art form is because it's the easiest way and it works well. That's the other thing too. Like a lot of this conversation is like people overcomplicating things and literally making it harder for themselves, even though they think they're taking a shortcut or they think they're doing it their way, which you would think would be easier, but it's not. But what if there is no wheel? Surely the wheel is a man-made idea that helps us create Western nice sound. Not necessarily. I'm not saying that it has to be a Western sound, and I'm just using the 7-note scale thing as an example. That's not to say that 7 notes are the only scale. What I'm saying is if you wanted to go learn anything, there are rules to it. So my audience, much of my audience is trying to make some type of contemporary like beats or contemporary music, contemporary Western music, I should say, specifically. So that's not to say. What I'm saying is whatever you set out to learn, there are people teaching how to do that thing. Don't go into it and say, I'm going to do something. I want to do that, but I'm going to do it my own completely different way. Of course, it can work sometimes, but most of the time, in this particular context, it doesn't work. Every day, in all things, I have to remind myself, I don't know what I don't know. It's the most common mantra in my life. Listen and learn first. Think and innovate later. Bo Tyler, another great point. And my chat just reset here. Charlie Parker says, Kamikaze Shots, quoting Charlie Parker here, I should say, is first you learn the instrument, then you learn the music. Then you forget all that shit and just play. I think that's a great philosophy for sure. Vegvisor says people's ear naturally gravitates to scales anyways because that's what sounds good. I totally get what you mean about following the traditional notation. Yeah, it's not about the specific scales. Please don't get caught up in that. It's not about a 7-note major scale. It's about if you're going to embark on a journey to learn a specific thing, learn within the confines and the foundations of that thing. New member. Shout out. New VIP member, Jennifer V. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I really appreciate it. At the VIP membership level, you get a free sample pack. So if you wanted to get Haze, my lo-fi sample pack, I forget, it's a $9 sample pack, but if you become a VIP member for $4.99, you get it free. You join an amazing squad, amazing community, get access to our Discord, and you get a cool badge next to your name in chat. Please welcome the new member, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Also, where is Joseph at? No announcement today? Does Joseph usually does he say he was going to make an announcement today? Great question. I think you just go with what you enjoy, not what everybody else enjoys. I know it's kind of hard, but when you live off music, but still. Well, I think the issue is people have common tastes. I think it's not a question of originality, and we should not get caught up in that conversation either. Oh, I'm going to make something original. I'm going to make something nobody's ever heard before. Well, if you make something nobody's ever heard before, chances are not a lot of people are going to like it. And most of the time, I hear music that I like, and I'm like, I want to recreate something in that style, or have 3 different types of music that I like, and I would like to combine them all to make something original. There's context. It's not about just like sitting down like what you like. It's like, you're the artist, you're making the art. Like, people think that they can just make bad stuff and say, oh, it's because it's original, nobody's ever heard it before. That's not the same thing. Oh, Joseph McCaffrey is here. Watch out. Ashley Smith says, how has your day been so far? I got matcha. I took Duncan for a walk. And I put on an outfit. I think I'm feeling pretty good. All right, let's get into some calls, because I could talk all day on this. I could rant all day. I'm sure there'll be more opportunity to rant with the calls. I want to go ahead and take some people from the waiting room. If you are not in the waiting room yet, you need to join. I'm throwing this link once again in the chat. Please make sure you mute the stream when you call in, because it will echo. Hello, Rohan. Thank you for calling in today.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. What's going on where you're at?
I'm currently in a hotel room quarantining in Bangkok.
Oh my gosh, across the world. Well, I hope you're staying safe, and I hope it's not too bad of a quarantine.
No, not too bad, thank you. No, not too bad. I've got my music over here, so I'm all good.
Awesome.
So I was wondering about your views on reinventing the wheel, and because I'm come from a classical music background and trying to get into producing and all of that. But what happens if the wheel's just a man-made idea, and it's simply we've just constructed this to help understand?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I am all about breaking tradition for sure. The thing about the wheel, like let's not get mistaken. Like, the thing about the wheel is a real functional thing that works, right? Like,
right.
Like, you can't say like we could have cars without wheels. Like, we couldn't. We need the wheels for that. Now, that's not to say there hasn't been innovation in vehicles in the past, however many years. There's innovation every single year, electric vehicles, whatever. So to just pull out of that analogy and go into music, right? Like, there's foundational stuff, like, especially in this context, I'm communicating to many beginner musicians. So it's like foundational stuff that people want to skip. And it sounds like you probably have a firm understanding of some of this foundational stuff. And especially in the classical world and the more traditional spaces, like, it's ripe for disruption. I think you absolutely should break the rules, and you should. But you're not necessarily reinventing the wheel. You're saying, here's the wheel and I'm going to take a piece out of it. Or here's the wheel and I'm going to, present it in a way that you've never seen before. Or it's not even a wheel. You know what I mean? Like, your goal might not be to create a wheel or to create the tradition. But if you are in the classical context or in the traditional context, you start with the wheel, and then you dissect it. You sort of add to it. You innovate it. You break it. You mess with it. So I think that is totally valid for somebody that understands foundational stuff to do. I don't want to get confused in the conversation. You should be innovating. You should be pushing the barriers, all that stuff.
Yes, definitely. And the wheels, of course, to make music. But again, surely the idea of music is subjective. I saw something recently,
Totally.
A study done by MIT, I think it is, where they took people from a tribe in South America and some Western listeners, and explained to them what dissonance and consonance was, and they liked dissonance just as much as consonance.
Right.
Which is quite interesting. And then bring that to the idea of the wheel and how music differs, really.
Totally. And it is all cultural. I mean, that came up before in the chat. It's like, I'm talking about a 7-note major scale because that's like a Western standard, but in many places that's not the standard. And that's not what, I mean, it exploded out to just like even staying in a Western context. Like some people like country music, some people like rap music, some people like rock music, and those all come with their own associated rule sets and harmony and types of sounds, etc. And different types of sound bring certain people different types of emotions. It is all subjective for sure. And it's cultural and it's, based on your experience and all that. So I think, yes, push it. But like when you want to work in a specific context, when you're like, I want to make trap beats like in a little Tekka song, like you have to sit there and learn the rules of that. You can't just say, I'm going to reinvent how to do this or else you're going to fail at your goal, right?
Yeah. So then if you don't mind me asking another one then.
Totally, go for it.
The future then?
Go ahead.
The future of where, because of course before we even had the wheel, you had the likes of Bach creating just what sounded good by ear. Surely that was just out of luck, or is that out of what we like that because that was what was first invented? So what's next? Do we reinvent the wheel? Do we change the wheel? Do we combine stuff? What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's all of that. And let's not, like, it's totally, I don't think it's totally been based on like what sounds good. It's not like totally arbitrary, right? Like there's some real physics behind why certain frequencies make harmony and why certain frequencies make dissonance. The perception of that over time can for sure change. I mean, think about an interval like the tritone, which was fully outlawed just because of culture, like of course, maybe they thought it sounded bad, but then it gets an association, like a religious association. So it gets banned, right? So like cultural things like that happen. Certain things like, I don't know, you think about like it's hard to zoom out of today's current culture and observe it from the outside because we're in it, right? It's like nearly impossible. We can sort of do that with nostalgia when we look back at decades like the 80s or the 90s. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where you say like, is it combining things? I mean, that's 100% what it is. We're all constantly being influenced by what's happening and what has happened. The most interesting music, if you really notice, it does like one of two things. It takes something familiar and it totally recontextualizes it, or it totally takes one element and blows it out to space, right? Or really successful music also takes elements from many different genres or somebody else's nostalgia and puts it into a modern context, right? And if that just keeps happening, what's going to happen is like, and I'm not saying this as a bad thing, the original thread of what the reference material is will start to sort of unravel and become something new and kind of evolve from what it was. So it's very natural to have this happen over time. It's very hard to observe it within the context of culture. I mean, I'm a big Kanye West fan. You look at Kanye West's Yeezus, the sounds and what's being used in that, like very abstract, very like almost like music concrete, very like harsh sounding stuff, but it's still in the context of rap and hip hop and trap, right? Like it still has a familiar veneer to it. Like it's not completely, it's not a John Cage piece, like it's not like putting ping pong balls on a piano and playing some atonal grid music. It's still in the context of like what people listen to. So like that's what's going to keep happening. It's if people continue to push that. Now what I think is a danger to this slightly is like the rate at which we put out music and the rate at which everybody is trying to do the hot thing. What I'm hoping is more people will try to sound more and more, like go a little bit outside of that to stand out a bit more. I think it could actually, the current times that we're living in could actually promote that, could promote like, hey, like everybody's putting out, like there's 60 million songs or whatever it is put out every day on Spotify. We got to stick out above the rest. But a little bit of that could also be like, oh, we got to make sure we sound like this hot record right now. We can get it out fast. So let's just kind of recreate that sound. I feel like those people will not be as successful, and the people that try to push boundaries and push beyond it in that sort of like Yeezus kind of way will be the ones that will succeed. So I think that's where the innovation comes from. It doesn't just come overnight. Like, as if I play you something, I'm like, hey, I made this last night. It doesn't sound like anything you've ever heard before. And I mean like nothing you've ever heard before. I'm not meaning like it's trap hip hop music, but with like crazy synths. I mean, it's like something from another planet. You can't even transcribe it if you wanted to. If I play that for you, you're going to be like, what the hell is this? So
Yeah, exactly.
it all has to be in the context of something that's familiar in order for us to innovate anyway.
Needs a middle ground.
Exactly. Or else, like, how do you get an audience? Like, let's not forget, like, we're creating art, and audience is like the completion of the art. Like, audience is part of the art. So, like, if you can't even get that to that point, it's not finished, you know?
Completely, yeah.
Thank you so much for calling in, Rohan. I really appreciate that.
No,
Great
thank
call
you very
to
much
kick
for
it
having
off.
a chat.
All right, have a good one, my friend.
You too. Bye.
Yes. Great first call. I think what TAETRO is trying to say is that it's okay to branch out and do something different in your own music, but you can't overlook the fundamentals and foundations of music. You got it, Jag. That's exactly it. We're going to keep rolling with some calls. I got Adi up next. I got a few people in the waiting room. If you do want to get in, I could probably get into a little bit more than who's in the waiting room. So jump in now, though, because I might not be able to get to everybody today. What's up, Adi? How are you doing?
I might not be able.
Make sure you mute the stream so it doesn't echo, please.
Yeah, I just muted it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Nick. Thank you. This is Aika, by the way.
Aika, amazing. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's currently like 3:30 a.m. here in Sydney.
Oh my gosh, in Sydney, Australia. Well, good morning, I guess.
Yeah, but always wanted to join the show. This is the first time I'm joining the call-in show, so just wanted to see what it was about.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you could make it, and it's crazy to have somebody from the chat call in for the first time because I have no idea what you all sound like.
Yeah. I think that the topic kind of resonated with me personally because it was about beginner producers not trying to reinvent the wheel, and I'm actually trying to get my music out on streaming platforms for the first time. And
congrats.
I was, just wondering about regular advice on that topic and, things about how to plan your releases as an independent artist. I know that, for me personally, music is more of a hobby. I don't think I'll ever be like a full-time artist. So in order to compete with full-time music producers, it's a pretty hard thing to compete for attention. But I just wanted to know what would be the right way to, organically grow your streams on Spotify and stuff like that without trying to spend too much time on branding.
Sure. Well, it's a tough question. And before I answer that, I just want to say shout out to Homer the Pleb. Thank you for becoming a VIP member. Okay, that's a really important question. And I don't want you to hold yourself back too much. I know that there's a little bit of hedging there saying like, I don't think I'll ever be a full-time musician. Like, I don't like, how do I compete with like all these people that are doing it full time? Like, I think we'd be really surprised to find how many people have really decent followings and a lot of attention around their work as artists that maybe work full-time jobs or maybe don't do it full-time. So I wouldn't hedge that too much. I know it can look like that because our streaming platforms, all the major streaming platforms are dominated by like major record labels. So a lot of what we see are people with like millions of dollars in marketing budgets and just budgets in general behind them. But from the independent perspective, it's all about being part of communities, and you can find ways to educate or entertain people, those two major categories. And those are ways to build attention around you and your work, right? And when you put out music, I don't want you to think of it as not spending too much time on branding. I really do believe that branding is as important as the time you put into your music, but also you should come up with some concrete goals of what's going to make you or what does make you happy as an artist. Because if your goal is to say, I want to get 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, if that's like your goal, that would make you happy, then you absolutely have to consider branding as like a very intense endeavor to embark on. If you say it would be great, maybe that's not even a metric that matters to you, listeners. Maybe it more just matters to you that you are putting out 1 track a month and that somebody is listening to it. You know what I mean? Like 5 people are listening to it, 10 people are listening to it, and if that would make you happy. And you should set those goals realistically, and then work backwards on what would it take to achieve that, because I talked about in the last call, like the audience completes the art, right? Like, but you determine what actually makes you happy and like what a decent audience size is, right? Like, so like for me, like my channel, my videos, if I put out a video, I'm happy if it crosses the threshold of 1,000 people. If 1,000 people viewed it and some percentage of those people are positively impacted, fantastic. I'm happy. And then every view on top of that is just icing on the cake. So if you don't have like a clear goal, whether that is a metric like plays, monthly listeners, likes, follows, whatever it will be, you might find yourself not knowing what actually makes you satisfied as an artist. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we can get satisfied off just making the music. I can totally sit in my studio all day, make music, and feel pretty satisfied. But there is one extra layer of releasing that sort of completes the circle. So I think you got to figure out what the goal is first. Like, what is the goal that actually makes you happy? And then work backwards from there. Because if your goal is, like I said before, if it involves, like if branding is an absolute necessity to that goal that you have of what's going to make you happy, then you got to reframe your mind because you're already trying to avoid doing that. But if your goal doesn't involve that, then great, you can get away with it and you can just kind of like keep chugging along, put out music at a regular pace. And just some like tangible stuff is like, I'm not like, I think I've totally heard your music before, I'm sure, on like different call-in shows, I imagine. Have you, I mean, not call-in shows, have you submitted music to a feedback session before?
I have.
Yeah, and like the ADSR thing. Yeah, all the time, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the type of music you make, if you get super focused about like the genre, the type of music, like figure out like if I was going to listen to your music, like what music would come after it? Like what popular music would it be part of a playlist on? If you can get super like diligent about that and start targeting some playlists, submitting to some playlists, using the Spotify tool for that, it's a lottery ticket kind of way of trying to get attention around your music, but that is pretty much one of the major ways to get attention on your music without doing any major branding or anything. Just via Spotify. But of course, it is super arbitrary. You're submitting. Who knows if anybody listens to it? If they do listen to it, they have to like it or they have to think it fits. You know what I mean? But that is one way for sure.
Yeah, I think the problem with me was I was really overthinking about it too much and not really doing anything about it. But then I took a step back and then decided, you know, what exactly is the kind of music that I want to make, and it's mostly, you know, instrumental, ambient, emotional music.
Amazing.
And within that sphere, I just kind of figured that it would be best to target, you know, specific playlists or target specific genres and not try to skip too much out of those genres. Because, you know, the other day, I think I was making like a house beat and then I added like a distorted guitar solo on top of that. And I was basically trying to break the wheel, like you just mentioned.
Right.
And then I just took a step back. And then, you know, when I thought about it, I realized that, you know, it might sound nice to me, but it might not really be making much sense in the context of what people normally listen to. So I didn't actually, you know, finish that beat. So that's one of the reasons why I actually called in, is because this topic was pretty much on my mind, and you kind of read my mind.
Cool.
It was really nice having a chat with you and, you know, getting your thoughts.
Yeah, and for the last thing I'll say is like, if you have that moment where you are making that beat that doesn't fit into the context of your current output. Like I do that all the time. I make music that is never going to get released or is not going to get released under my name. It's still valid. Like you sitting there having fun making it, like you said, like that's still a valid experience. Not everything has to be for output. And in doing that, maybe you were breaking the wheel in terms of like the context of your own music, but it's okay to be like breaking the wheel a little bit in an experimental thing where you might kind of like stumble upon something that can be used in the proper context or might spur a, side project or whatever. And the other thing is, this is the real last thing I'll say, is if like we cannot tie our self-identity as artists to a single thing. Like, I feel like I am guilty of this for sure with, my artist brand as TAETRO. Like, I went heavy into the lo-fi chill hop like beat thing, and because I really enjoy it and that music comes natural to me. That's great. But the reason I started my other project, FaceX, was because I have all this other stuff in me. And now also I'm trying to make some like lo-fi house music, and I'm struggling with identity. Like, does this fit under that name, this name, whatever it may be? You could have 3 artist projects going at the same time for the 3 types of music that you like to make. We have the tools available to us. What's to stop you from doing that? And especially if you are going with this shotgun blast approach of like do the Spotify playlist thing, like you should be doing it like for as many genres and as many things as you can. Don't pin yourself down to one genre. Like, we're artists, we're multifaceted, we're full humans. Like, and so I'm watercolor painting. Like, that doesn't fit into my identity as a home studio music producer, electronic music mentor, whatever, but I'm still going to do it. I'm a whole person. I'm a whole artist, So you should dive into all of those things and just do them all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mostly produce chill music, but I'm actually a progressive metal guitar player. So I have other projects. Like, when I play in bands, I play like other heavy stuff, and
that's awesome.
That's the way I find like creative expression. And I think it's important to have multiple different projects and express yourself in the best way possible.
For sure. Aika, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for being a channel member and supporting.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Yes, all the things, chat. And by the way, my DistroKid link is in the description if you are interested in getting your music on Spotify, Apple Music, all the major streaming platforms, TikTok, Instagram Reels. You can get 7% off DistroKid. I have a affiliate code or affiliate link in the description. The reason I bring that up is because I have like a label account on DistroKid, so I can upload like under a bunch of artist names. And it's something I feel like people underutilize. Like, don't pin yourself down to one thing, because you don't know which one thing that you do could bring you major success. Just something to think about. You could put all your eggs in the lo-fi chill hop beats basket and then end up putting out a techno record that like does really well. And suddenly that's paying your bills and paying for your time to go make the lo-fi chill hop that you like to make. Think about it. I want to for sure say another big shout out to Homer the Pleb. Thank you for becoming a VIP member, getting that free sample pack, joining our Discord, all that good stuff. Homer said something really nice. Love your channel. You're such a huge inspiration. I'm just getting back into music after being out for a few years, and I wish there were channels like yours back then. Thank you so much, Homer. I'm glad you're finding the channel helpful. Amazing. Thank you all. I'm going to keep up with chat, but I also want to keep going with the calls. So let's get John Ramos in here. Connecting to audio. John is almost here. Almost. John, how's it going?
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm muting the chat right now.
That's okay. No worries. Thank you for calling in. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. Can't complain. What did you want to talk about today?
I have a more technical question. Are those allowed?
As long as you're not asking me how to plug in a MIDI keyboard or something like that, where I think we can handle it.
Okay, well, you let me know if you want me to change the question. It's I'm having like weird latency issues when I plug in all my stuff and do monitoring. So how do you record and do your loops, your live loops? I saw your technique for the sustain pedal, but when you do live loops, are you getting input latency from all your inputs? Even with my mic monitoring, my guitar monitoring, my MIDI monitor, it's all latency, like maybe 200 milliseconds up to 250.
Sure. I don't mind this question because people ask it a lot, but like, are you using Ableton Live or what?
Ableton Live 11. Yeah, I just got it.
Great. So like in your preferences, what is your buffer size at?
My buffer size, are you talking about like sample?
You're going to go to live preferences. I'm going to do this with you at the same time, even though Ableton Live just updated. Apparently, I can actually probably share my screen and everybody can follow along. We'll make this a whole tutorial.
Full disclosure, I'm not at home right now, so I don't really have Ableton in front of me, but
oh, okay.
I could reference the recording.
Absolutely. All right, then let me just full screen this and we'll make this like a little PSA announcement. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are experiencing latency in your recordings, you want to be in your DAW or Ableton Live, which is my DAW, live, preferences. And then if we have an audio input device like I do, like the Scarlett, this is my audio interface. All right, and then in that menu under preferences, audio, there's a section that says latency. And then there's a drop-down menu that says buffer size. And that buffer size can go all the way up from 32 samples to 2,048 samples. The higher this number, the more latency you're going to get. If you want very low latency, 64 and 128 are the way to go. The reason I say don't go down to the lowest is because what happens is when you go to low latency and low buffer size, it gets... It's not good for your CPU, and the more plugins and stuff you have running, your DAW and your computer will struggle to run the project. So if you can get somewhere between 64 and 128, maybe you can even get away with 256. One of those three options should get you a near real-time, low latency recording. So right now, when I set it to 128 samples, the input and output latency are around 6 milliseconds. Overall latency around 12 milliseconds, which is should not be a big deal. So
Okay.
technically that should help.
The buffer size is that sample. That's that sample rate, right? So
Different than the sample rate, not the same thing. The sample rate you can leave at 44.1. You should just leave it at 44.1. It's the safest bet. That's the lowest one. Sample rate and latency, like buffer size, are two different things.
Okay. So like last night I was messing around and I did see like that suggestion, and my Ableton actually looks a little different from yours, maybe because it's like 11, I guess. Maybe they changed their interface, but it's not options, it's a sliding like blue bar that you just like drag up and down on the mouse.
Oh, you're running a Windows computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be why. So you want to get that as low as possible. It'll still say those numbers below, like it'll say like 64, 128, 256. Like you want to just kind of match the numbers, even though it's like a sliding like blue thing.
Okay, but when I make it really low, my audio is like kind of crunchy and I start hearing like static.
Yeah, so that is likely a CPU issue, and it might actually come down to the hardware of your computer. This is why I highly encourage people to use like Macs, even though it's not an option for everybody, or use a very powerful Windows computer. Like I used to run a Windows Ultrabook, and that worked okay. But that is a hardware limitation on your CPU. And the reason I recommend Macs is because Macs just tend to not have that problem.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not super knowledgeable with computers, but I had like my cousin help me buy one, and the CPU like should have been pretty strong. So I just don't know if that's really the issue. But. Well,
it's definitely if you bring the buffer size down and you're at 128 samples, then that is definitely the issue. It is definitely the CPU, or it could, of course, have to do with any other of the Windows configured hardware, like the internal sound card or something, which is again like the reason I'm saying like Mac is because Mac is like one ecosystem, one set of hardware, very easy to troubleshoot, very easy to understand and everything. With Windows computers, it's like people are building them themselves. They're by different manufacturers, different components inside. It just is a whole like I know it sucks because like Mac tends to be more expensive. However, it's like such a nightmare, and it solves so many problems when you just go to an ecosystem like Mac that is just one set of components and one set of hardware. But like for instance, like my computer is like overkill. I've run stuff on lower specs than this, but it's an M1 chip, so I can't even tell you. But when I had an Intel chip, it was i7, but an i7 on a Mac is going to run better than an i7 on a PC. So it's like a whole mess, and I don't claim to be a complete expert in it, but that's just the best advice I can give you. I know it's probably not what you want to hear, but that is the solve for sure. It's the hardware. If you can't get it down to 128, at least on the buffer size.
Okay, I appreciate you helping me out. Thank you.
For sure. Have a good one, my friend.
Take care.
Yes, and that's, like just to speak broadly about like that kind of issue. Sometimes we fight so much, like Not to say like the caller was doing this at all. He wasn't. But I see the Mac versus PC debate online all the time. And whatever, if you have a machine that works, fantastic. I'm happy for you. I don't care if it's Mac or PC. But I see all these PC users struggling, finding workarounds, spending 90% of their time on troubleshooting because they're using a Windows computer instead of a Mac, and then still shit-talking Macs. But it's like, bro, you're spending all your time troubleshooting. You're spending all your time because like you have this one CPU that doesn't play well with sound card, blah, 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 blah. Whereas if you buy a Mac, you can actually spend your time making music. And this is not an ad for Mac or whatever. It's just, I'm telling you, like you can either look at, goes back to reinventing the wheel, my friends. This is literally on topic. So actually, I appreciate John's question because it's going to set me off on this. You literally go on YouTube and look at every single producer that you like. Look at what they have. There's a video of them sitting at their laptop. What do 90% of them have? A freaking MacBook Pro. What makes you think that you're going to wake up in the morning and say, oh, they're using a MacBook Pro, I'm going to do what they do, but I'm going to do it on this $300 Chromebook? No, it doesn't work like that. Just because it's cheaper for you and just because like you think you can take a shortcut. Again, I'm not saying this to the caller. That's not what the caller was saying. This is like a totally other thing. But don't fight it. Don't swim up the stream. Look at what people do. And by the way, I'm not just saying, oh, just go buy a MacBook, because I know not everybody can afford to go buy a MacBook. What I'm saying is buy the best machine that you can afford and do what you can with it. Work within the limitations of it. But don't go complain and say like, and fight it. You should be buying the best machine that you can and then saving up money so that you can eventually buy a machine that isn't going to give you so much trouble. What do you think I did? I had like 3 Windows laptops when I was first learning music production that all were terrible. Ty the Eye says Dead Mouse uses Razer Blade laptops. That's fantastic. So like if you want to get a Razer Blade laptop because you see Dead Mouse using it, that's totally valid. Go do it. If Dead Mouse can do what he does on the Razer, you can do it too. Stop nobody complain about it. My point is, look at what the people you like use and get that. Stop trying to find a shortcut around using what they use. If you're having problems, if you can find a cheaper solution, if you can find a better solution, a more efficient solution, fantastic. But don't sit there and like complain that you can't like figure it out because your hardware sucks. You can get a cheap MacBook Pro. I start with a 7 years old one, and it was good for 6 years. It's right? Like, you get old MacBook Pro that people were making like hits on, like for pretty cheap. The other thing about that Razer thing is like that's a brand deal too. So like, if I were you, I would go watch his like studio sessions and see what kind of computer he's actually using, if he actually is using a Razer laptop. Maybe he is. I don't know. Peace and love. How about my Commodore 64 SID chip? You got it. All right, we're going to keep rolling. Abhinav. Let's chat. Dominic says, but when you're poor and you can't afford other options, what else can you do? You buy the best thing that you can afford and you do what you can. iPhone or just like phone apps, whatever it is. Or you save money when you can. Pay for things over time if you can. I'm not saying that you need to be able to buy the best machine. What I'm saying is do the best with what you can with what you got. Go find resources in your community that have access to technology. Abhinav, you're connecting to audio. Make sure your mic is set. It is not currently. You have to go in the bottom left, turn your mic on. Bottom left, that mic icon, drop menu, and it says select a microphone. Make sure you select your proper microphone. I'm going to go and bring in the next caller in a second if we can't get that settled. My PC is juiced out the wazoo and my music is trash, says AOT7. Yeah, see, that's the problem too. Is like we spend so much time like worrying about the best equipment or whatever. You want to basically proceduralize, systemize, like make everything like just easy. I buy MacBook, it works, I'm done. I buy PC, I have to think about what graphics card I'm getting, what CPU I'm getting, what sound card, whatever the hell else goes in there, because my friends built my PC, so who even knows? Like you spend all that much time doing that. And then your voice isn't even good. I mean, not your voice. Your music isn't even good. Do you use voice meter, TAETRO? I don't even know what that is. The problem with building PCs, some motherboard chipsets do not work with certain audio interfaces. Exactly. I think you have to worry about like eliminating any layer of complication possible. Because at the end of the day, you want to make stuff, right? You don't want to spend your days troubleshooting. You want to make things as simple and easy as possible. Abhinav, I'm putting you back in the waiting room because your mic isn't selected. Yurik. Yurik might be our last caller of the day. Yurik, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
It's going good. Is this your first time calling in?
Yes, it's my first time.
Amazing.
I'm a bit nervous, but it's fine.
Don't be nervous. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, thanks to you taking my call.
Of course.
I want to ask something. Maybe it's a bit stupid.
I bet it's
please.
not stupid. You can ask.
Okay. I am a newbie, and I have, a few months into production, thanks to you and your channel and all the people there. I'm amazed how fast I have been learning.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm in, basic music, theory classes and all that. But my question is, sometimes I feel overwhelmed about everything I have to learn.
Totally.
And, I'm a designer. That's my day job. And I have to learn many things every day. But with music, I feel like, oh my gosh, minor, major, this, that, you have to later know, these core things.
Right.
Then 1, 5, 4 sounds good and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how to not feel overwhelmed? And I don't want any shortcuts. I know it's not easy, have been very fun. But how to be, not fast, but
you just don't want to be overwhelmed. Like, you know what it takes and you want to feel like you can get there instead of feeling like there's so much that it's insurmountable.
Yeah, sometimes I feel it's too much. I can get there.
Well, you can absolutely get there. And the question I put back to you is like, how many years, like you work in design, right? Like how many years did you spend studying design? Not even just like formally, but like from when you first learned how to draw, when you first learned how to do design, like how many years do you think you've spent up to now doing that?
Well, so far professionally, I have spent 5 years in design doing big stuff.
Okay, that's 5 years in the professional world. How many years did you spend before that, before you got into the professional world?
Well, like another, 4 years in education, and I'm a self-taught designer. So
right.
That's the funny part of everything. I'm a self-taught everything.
So,
music.
So like,
design.
Would you say like, I would imagine after about 10 years of doing design informally, that you're probably a pretty good designer, right? I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that. Like you're confident in your skills as a designer?
Yeah, well, it's funny because your words are very true, and even if you speak in music, applies to everything. So I had to change my mind and feel confident in my skills because yes, I am good in design. I was just this horrid imposter syndrome,
Right. We all have, yeah, and we have that in every art form. That's why I think it's important to have these conversations. But what I'm saying is, you have been doing design for 10 years and are able to confidently say like, yes, I'm good at design. Like I'm a good designer, whatever. You just said you've been doing music for how long?
I started in February, I think.
Less than 1 year. Less than 1/10 of the time you've spent doing design, right? So like, it's like you kind of mentioned, like it's all the same, like art, creativity, like it's all the same. Like you shouldn't feel like you need to rush. Like the reason it feels like you have so much to learn and it feels almost like insurmountable is because you feel like you have to learn it all right now, right in this moment. And you really don't. Like, you have to relate it back to your design experience. And it's good that you have that experience of having already learned a craft and learned a medium, because that took you 10 years. It took you 10 years to get to where you are now. And I bet in another 10 years, you'll be an even better designer. And you couldn't do what you do now as a designer 10 years ago, for sure. So why put that pressure on the musician that you are and feel like you have to be able to do things, you know, that you will be able to do in 10 years right now? So it's not that maybe it won't take you 10 years to accomplish your musical goals, but what I'm saying is it definitely will take time, and none of it is meant for you to learn fast or all at once. Or it's not that any of it is, nobody's learning it all at once. Nobody is proficient in every single aspect all at once. You do have to learn it piece by piece. And right now, like I talk about this all the time, I'm sure you've heard me say it before, it's your vision for what you want to make and your skills. And especially when you start out, your vision for what you want to make is way up here and your skills are way down here. But you're building those skills, and those are getting higher and higher, and like at whatever rate you're comfortable going. But no matter what, like you can objectively say, in everything you just told me, you can objectively say that your skills are definitely getting higher. They're reaching towards your vision. But what also happens for us as artists is our vision grows at the same time. So sometimes those things catch up to each other, skill set and vision. Other times our vision just keeps growing with our skill set. And we never quite get, like, we're always pushing what our vision is. So our skill set needs to keep growing. And that's actually a very beautiful thing as an artist. Like, we have this vision and then we maybe surpass that initial vision. So we set higher goals for ourselves. And then we keep building our skills. We keep getting better and keep getting better. But you can't see that in the moment. It is so hard to zoom out and see that in the moment, which is why people in your position, I always tell them, you're learning music. You should learn music in the context of making music. So take everything that you're learning about and apply it into the kind of music you want to make. And just put that music somewhere. It doesn't have to be public, but put it on a SoundCloud or just put it in a Google Drive folder. Whatever it is, because the only way you're going to zoom out and see your progress is if next February, when you've had your year anniversary of making music, you can go listen to a track that you made in February of 2022 and go listen to it against a track you made in February of 2021 and say, holy smokes, this is a million times better than the music I made a year ago. That is the only time you're going to see that progress. And that takes a year. And don't forget that analogy of like your design career. You're 10 years into doing design saying like, I'm a fully confident designer. Think of all the struggles and the imposter syndrome you faced as a designer throughout those years. You're going to have that as a musician. We all have it. I have it. Many other people in the community have talked about having it. You can do it. And you just have to be patient. I know that you are patient. You describe being patient. You're not looking for shortcuts. And that's the thing, is there are no shortcuts. You are where you are. You're going to keep building your skills every single day. Once you're confident in the skills that you have, you move on to the next thing. So as long as you're doing it in the context of making music, you're going to make progress. At the end of the day, you want to make progress, right? You want to make music. Yeah. You want to make something you're proud of. And, you know, today, the music that you make, you're going to be proud of for your skill set today. And in a year from now, when your skill set grows and you make music again, you will, of course, feel proud of that. And it'll be that much better than the music that you make today. So I feel that. We all feel that. The thing is just to remember that you can do this and remember where you are in your journey. Like, you're literally just taking the first step. You're not even a year in. So be okay with yourself, you know, still having a lot to learn. It's actually really exciting.
It is. I mean, the last review you did to my track was like, oh my gosh. I was surprised of your words, like, oh, this is very good. And I was like, oh my God. Right.
Well, that's why the community and like hearing from other people is important. And that's why I do what I do, because we're all out like in different areas of the world, like doing our thing. And sometimes we don't know anybody in real life in our immediate communities that do what we do, or that can provide us any real feedback or provide us any real support. Like, this is a community of people all doing the same thing, right? All home studio music producers around the world trying to make music, maybe different kinds of music, but all with like a similar goal. So like, that's why I do what I do, and take advantage of that, right? Like, you've been a member for a long time, like make sure like you're like in Discord, and like people are super supportive and people want to hear from you for sure. So that is another way to keep you going, because the thing about it, I talked about it already, but like it's hard to zoom out when you're in it. What's easier is for me as an outsider to look at your music and point out things that you maybe might have been insecure about, or things that you might not have realized were strengths. If I can point those things out and you hear it from another person, it sort of makes it valid for you, because we can be our harshest critic. I'm definitely my own harshest critic. So like hearing feedback from other people is really important, because it can either validate insecurities, and it can validate some like confidence as well.
True. I never have, a community this supportive in design. Oh my God.
That's awesome.
It's carnage. So I'm always have been, away from communities, except this one.
Right.
Because artists are very, harsh.
Totally.
And it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes critics are harsh. Sometimes you need it. It's valid, because sometimes you aren't seeing the big picture.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my English.
No, you're fine.
Well,
the thing about criticism too is like, remember, like as artists, we are like always insecure about stuff. And sometimes people don't know how to handle that insecurity. So you want to make sure that you're getting feedback and criticism from a supportive community. Otherwise, you might just have some insecure artists out there like saying mean stuff because it's more of a reflection of how they feel about their stuff. So like that's why fostering this community, this type of community, and there are other communities like this out there, that is there to be supportive and not just there for people to flex their skills, even though we all flex our skills, but we also do it to support each other.
No, it's for this, and true. I needed to reflect myself a bit and step aside and say, I'm learning. Just don't rush. Don't keep it going.
That's right. Don't rush. Keep it going. Thank you so much for calling in. It was great that you called in for the first time. Please do it again on a future show. I think my connection is bad. Eric, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go because my connection is bad, I think. But have a good one. I appreciate you. Sorry. I don't know if that's on my end or... I think it is on my end. All right. Well, that's a good...
no problem.
Oh, there it is. That's a good endpoint anyway. Thank you so much, Eric, for calling in. Thank you to all the callers. The last thing I want to say, based on that call... Small successes, people. If you're feeling like Eric is feeling, if you're feeling like you don't have, like you don't know if you're progressing, whatever, you need to celebrate your small successes. If you exported a track today and have a mix that you feel good about, pat yourself on the back. Acknowledge your success for that day. If you watch my music theory tutorial and apply the chord progressions in a way that you understand after watching that tutorial, pat yourself on the back, because that's huge. Every time you take a baby step, if you learn about buffer size in Ableton Live, if you learned about that today, pat yourself on the back. Like every little success, you have to give yourself a pat on the back for it, because you're an artist. It's likely that we don't have other people patting each other on the back. Some people don't even have supportive communities in their immediate place, right? So you have to be not only your biggest critic, but your biggest cheerleader at times. Don't let it become delusional and become overconfidence, but do give yourself the credit that you deserve. It can be hard sometimes, though. I want to check in with text chat and see how it's going. And then we're going to call it a day. Anywhere is a good place for music as long as you're comfortable and safe there. I agree. Thank you, Michael. I heard my music from 2018 to 2019 a few weeks ago, and I was like, what the heck is this? Yes, Falguna. That's okay. The thing to remember, though, is in 2018, 2019, you were probably like, man, this music is pretty good. This is the best music that I can make right now. And that's how you should feel. If in every moment you're making the best music that you can make, you're winning, because that's just going to keep getting better and better and better and better and better. So I'm excited to get to 2025 and look back at the music I made in 2021 and say, what the heck is this trash? Because that means my music in 2025 is like a million times better. Just a thought. DK Subconscious says, stupid question, but could you tell me what lo-fi is? I don't think it's a stupid question. It's definitely a Googleable question, though. I've never heard of it until I followed you. I'm not really up to date with anything. Lo-fi stands for low fidelity. Usually it's associated with like beats, like chill lo-fi beats, right? They usually have some type of like, maybe they sound like they're run through a tape player. Usually the highs are rolled off. Maybe you might hear field recording in the background. It's just like, imagine if it's like chill hip hop beats that were made on a cassette tape or something, you know, like it's just low fidelity. And it doesn't just apply to lo-fi chill beats, because you can have lo-fi house, you can have lo-fi hip hop. It spans different genres. It's more of like a aesthetic, like sound thing, I guess. Rashane says, do you think you'll ever bring back TAETRO members only private TAETRO talks? I think that I definitely will, Rashane, and I'm going to see if we can do one, if not this month, at the top of September. Because, yeah, it's just been like, we've had like mad visitors here. Like we have visitors here right now. So it's just been like a little bit of a hectic time, and there's been a lot of streams happening. So, but yeah, we'll do one for sure soon in the future. I've been thinking about it anyway. Jay Mars says, hey, TAETRO, I'm a big fan of your content. I started making beats in 2015 on GarageBand. Now I have my own studio, and I do recording, mix, and mastering. Still learning, though. Thanks for inspiring us. Keep up. Thank you so much, Jay Mars. We're all still learning, for sure. Okay, nice. Thank you. I'll have to get my RC Retro Color FX VSD going then. Yes, exactly. Make sure your lo-fi at the end of your signal chain. You don't want to compress or expand the effect. Yeah, got it. Cool. Where would you say is the best place to start with making electronic music? Like a top 5 list of things to get to grips with. Lots of love. That's from Sam McCarthy. Top 5 things. I don't know if I can run off 5 things, but the first thing you do, figure out what producers you like. Like, what music do you like? Figure out who the producers are behind that music and go watch a bunch of tutorials. Like, find 1, 2, or 3 of those producers. Go find a bunch of tutorials that they've done. Look at what program they use. Get that program and just learn it. Learn how to use that program. If you have no foundational music education at all, learning basic keyboarding and piano skills. It's those 3 things. It's like figuring out the producers that you like and want to and aspire to be, figuring out what they actually use, their program, their DAW, getting that DAW, learning it, and then at the same time building up your musical foundational skills. I would say piano is the way to go. You know that I also have music theory videos that I just started a monthly series for on this channel, so go watch that. Homer says, is there going to be a part 2 for the indie pop song you did a few days ago, or will you drop the link for the song when it comes out? Thanks. Here's a question for you all that are still watching. If we had a vocalist in here doing the top line for that song, would you guys want to watch that on Thursday? We basically be taking the indie pop tune that we made last week. We maybe make a couple edits to it, but then we could potentially have the top line. We could do a vocal recording stream. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. I like to not go near the beat for as long as possible because then it distracts me from the synths I want to experiment with. Interesting. On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the Arturia MIDI controller behind you? I don't understand the question. UFC, it looks like you guys like that idea. Well, I'll see if I can make that happen. It's a potential. I just hope it's an interesting stream, you know? Do you listen to music much or just make it? I listen to a ton of music, AO, but I listen to mostly like not the kind of music that I make. No, Falcona, the thing would be we'd have an actual live vocalist in here in the studio doing it. Yep. Looks like that's going to be it for today. Intel MacBook or M1? Probably M1. Vocal recording / producing content is scarce. Good to know. All right, everybody, that's going to be it. We're a little bit over an hour. That's okay. I think there were a lot of great calls today. I hope you took some value from today's show. Top 3 favorite artists is Ty the AI. That's tough. It's definitely like timely though. So top 3 favorite. In no order, I would say Blackpink. The 1975. And that third spot is kind of hard. It's hard for me to not just, I'm looking at Spotify right now. It's hard for me to not just pick another K-pop group. And what can I say? I don't know. Hard for me to pick a third one. I like too much other music, I guess. The Spotify list and SoundCloud won't make sense at all, but depends on the mood. Yeah. That's the thing. Like those two like things that, yeah, obviously twice, but what am I going to have? 2 K-pop groups in my top 3? Twice, Blackpink, the 1975? I guess so. And then where does IU fit in there? It's my whole life now. All right, that's it, everybody. This has been a great stream. This has been a great call-in show. Thank you to all the members. We had 2 new VIP members today. Thank you so much. If you do want to support the channel and get something for yourself, join at the VIP tier. You can get a free sample pack. You get access to the Discord, and you get that cool badge next to your name. And you can submit music to our track review. We had a really amazing track review last Saturday, and we'll be doing it again, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that. So stay tuned for that. That should be fun. Hit the join button. You can support the channel, and it would really mean a lot. But of course, not everybody can support monetarily. So if you can, at least subscribe, give this video a like, make sure you turn notifications on so you do not miss a future stream. I will be live again on this channel on Thursday. So don't miss Thursday. Jason, if you're going to join, I would join now because I can give you a big shout out on stream. Or if you join after the stream, it'll be tough to do that, obviously. John Cozen says, new track coming out September. I'll have to submit to track review. Yes, you absolutely should. Palguna is going to say, I'll try to submit the next track review. That'd be great. Peace, John Cozen. Thank you for being here. Shout out to everybody who's watching over at 343 Labs. 343labs.com if you all do want to take a course in music production, synthesis, sound design, mix, and mastering. If you're not, please at least subscribe over at youtube.com/343 Labs. Got it. James Murley says, my wife is all about the K-pop and K-drama. All right, before we go, James, what K-dramas does she like? What's her number 1 K-drama? As always, great stuff. Can't wait for Thursday. Homer the Pleb, I'll see you on Thursday. If we can get that going with a vocalist on Thursday, we will do that for sure. Falcuna says, are you associated with ADSR? Yes. I stream with them on Wednesdays. Just a guest. Yeah, just a guest. Oh, Jason says, okay, joining. So we're going to wait for Jason's membership to come through. We'll do a big celebration, and then we'll end the stream with a new member. James, you're not giving us the intel on the K-dramas. Oh, sending text. I'll at you in Discord. Good to know. Good to know. Hey, man, I know we're at the end, but what are your thoughts on Push 2? It's really great. It's obviously the best controller for Push if you don't want to have a specific keyboard. New MacBook or just remove the stickers? New MacBook. It's an M1. DK Subconscious says, a couple of 80 track faves. Everybody wants to rule the world. Whoa, it came through. Jason with the VIP membership.
Watch out. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason, for becoming a VIP member. That's 3 new VIP members today, supporting the channel, making sure I can keep making videos and keep doing live streams for all of you. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Jason. Jason, make sure you connect. And anybody who became a new member today, go into Discord, connect your YouTube account, and you'll get access to our Discord. Go to my channel, go to the community tab, scroll down, but scroll kind of slow because you don't want to miss it. But there will be a post that says members link for the Haze sample pack, and you can download that right away. Immediately. Any issues, let us know in a comment. Let us know in Discord. Please welcome Jason and all the new members that came through today. All right, this is really it, everybody. We'll be over on Discord waiting patiently for James Murley to let us know what K-dramas his wife likes. But that's going to be it. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all. I'll be back here on Thursday as usual. 343labs.com if you want to take a course. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button on your way out. Turn notifications on. But for now, that's going to be it. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.